So I put in the invitation that people don't need their cameras and microphones on, because what we'll do, if that's okay with you, Mark, is we'll just run through a few questions that I know a lot of people have, and a few things that I think would be worthy of dealing with in some detail. What I will ask those of you who've joined, rather than asking questions verbally, we have a chat function just at the bottom of your screen. You should see a little chat box.
That's not an easy sentence, is it?
It's not an easy sentence. I should have practiced that. What I'd ask you to do, if you do have questions throughout the course of the next sort of 45 minutes or an hour or so, we're going to save some time at the end just so that we can run through those, and I'll try and get through as many as we can. So rather than you having to find a moment when I stop talking, which are quite rare and few and far between, it's probably easier just to type your question in the box, and we'll get to that later. So thanking you for joining. We have Mark Holland, Chief Exec of Bodystreet UK, here ready to answer some questions as well. What I want to do, Mark, if it's all right with you, is I'm just going to run through the sorts of questions that I think everybody has, and then later on we'll save some time to deal with specific questions that people bring into the chat box, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine.
So just starting, the kind of theme of this webinar is really about whether now is a good time to be getting into the fitness industry. And I'd like to begin by talking about the thing that nobody wants to talk about, which is good old COVID-19. What I want to really focus on is what impact it's had on the studios, on Bodystreet Studios, because presumably everybody cancelled their memberships, because I read that that's what's happened to all other gyms. So is that the same for you?
Well, no, it's first of all, hello and welcome everybody. Yeah, it's a great question. And am I on screen share at the moment?
Actually, you will be very shortly.
Yeah, do that. I just want to put up a couple of slides. Actually, I should have pre-warned you that there's one that's just come up. That's
you are now able to share your screen.
So I'm hoping that you can see that screen.
Yeah, I can see some graphs there.
Yeah, so this is what happened in the fitness industry in Germany, the rest of Europe, and the UK. And it doesn't take a great deal of surprise that 94% drop in revenue happened in Q2 in 2020, which was obviously the lockdown period. And what happened was two things. Number one is members naturally cancelled their gym memberships. And also here in the UK, an awful lot of the direct debit providers actually cancelled the direct debit mandates.
Wow.
The great thing about Bodystreet is that we have very much a one-to-one connection with our clients. I'll be very careful here. I don't know if any gym owners are on the call, so I'll be very careful. But ordinarily, a gym's normal mode of operandi is get as many people to sign up as possible, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, whatever it is, in the sort of January, February period, and then pray they never come again.
Yes.
Because that's how they can have, a local gym to us in Milton Keynes, it's got 14,000 members. Well, if they all turned up in the same week, it would never work. Bodystreet is completely opposite. We work on very small membership numbers. So we know every single client, and we were able to talk to them and just explain the situation. And our franchisees retained between 50 and 80% of membership fees kept coming in during the lockdown period. And in exchange for that, we did online stuff and we did all sorts of stuff. But it was just, I think, two things. Number one is it allowed and maintained the cash flow for our franchisees. And number two, it highlighted the one-to-one relationship that our franchisees have with their members. So it was really good to see that. So actually, we didn't get the cancellations that the rest of the gym industry saw. So that was good. Now, the other thing we did as a franchisor, just to interrupt you, is we recognised that period, and we actually didn't take a management service fee on those fees.
Oh, right.
During that lockdown period, yeah. So during that lockdown period, we didn't take any fees. it just felt the appropriate thing, because our franchisees now obviously had to give back sessions to their clients. So we just took the decision to support. We wanted to be in the boat,
yes,
with our franchisees during the lockdown period. So we took that decision not to take management service fee on the membership fees that are coming in during lockdown.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing then, actually, because with your management services fee, which is 9%, I think, if
Yeah.
I've got that right. If they're getting kind of 80%-ish of their revenue still coming in, they're more or less maintaining their income, dare I say.
Which is the attitude we took, because if we can help our franchisees get through the storm, it's going to be a benefit to all of us at the other end.
That's really interesting, because I think there's probably a lack of definition or a lack of knowledge of the difference between Bodystreet and what you might call a conventional gym. I think very often people would perhaps lump the two the same, and there's a feeling again in let's just call it the gym industry, that the gyms may not actually be the same coming out of lockdown. I mean, so as we talk about, and let's just say that at some point the pandemic will be behind us and things will return to normal, whatever normal means these days.
If they are normal is not the normal, but
normal may not be the norm. Possibly March, April, or something like that. How do you think the uptake in memberships will go kind of post lockdown? Is that something that you see, it's going to be a long road to recovery, or do you see a faster sort of bounce back?
Yeah, I think up until the end of 2019, early 2020, I think there was a natural assumption, if whatever's wrong with me, the NHS will take care of it.
Right.
So we had this fixation here in this country that almost like it was the cure for all, irrespective of how I dealt with my body. Today, that's not the case. We know if we're overweight or we're over 60, we have a huge chance of dying of COVID-19 and whatever comes after it, because COVID-19 is just one of a number of COVID viruses. So there's clearly an attitude and an appetite to get fit and stay fit. And what we saw, and again, I'm going to share a couple of screens for you. What we saw is a huge uplift in our memberships post the last lockdown. So this was across the German market, because they did this. This is a Deloitte's review. What we found is that the growth, and the black line is EMS studios, the growth in memberships post lockdown 1.0, whatever they call it, was huge. So the massive appeal for those in the fitness industry as a whole, but the dramatic growth was in the EMS market, the Electro Muscle Stimulation market. And I think there's lots of reasons for that. So number one is that you've got a desire to get fit. Number two is it's 1-to-1, 1-to-2.
Right.
So it's incredibly safe as a hygiene level. Because you are only dealing on a one-on-one basis. So in a studio, there will be no other person other than the client and the trainer.
Right.
And the way we were operating through the COVID period is that we were operating one-to-one all the time, unless it was a family member. Right. So I think there's certainly all the indications are that the demand will be there. For going to the studio, going to the gyms. There's also clearly a concern around how safe and secure the environment is. And we have this thing called hygiene, Stufe Hygiene, which is basically highest hygiene. It's a bit like Vorsprung technique. So it's hygiene.
Tagline,
the hygiene stuff, beste Hygienestufen. Bodystreet's German by heritage, and the Germans are fastidious around hygiene. And when we do a talk in a bit about the studio itself, I can highlight what goes on in the studio, so you can see how hygienic our studios are. and therefore why we can answer that clearly. One question: if I come to a studio, if I come to the gym, am I safe? Because we and I'll talk you through that in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I think clearly demand is going to be there.
And that's an interesting point, that you think quite likely that the customer concerns, if you like, even if COVID is gone to whatever extent, people will still have that as a concern, because it's dominated their life for at least a year, hasn't it? So there's I can see the logic of why people would start to question. Actually, just in general, I've heard people talking about flu and things like that, where we didn't used to be concerned particularly about whether we were likely to be bumping into people, but suddenly we are. So there's that kind of gives us a pretty bright outlook then, doesn't it, really? So but given that
I am paid to say it, but yeah.
Well, yeah. But given that bright as that outlook may be, given that we are still talking, sadly, a few months away before we're and perhaps there's some wishful thinking even in this, but either COVID's behind us or it's under control to some degree. Given that we're talking, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 months maybe, is now still worth starting those discussions? Because if I'm saying, actually, Mark, yes, I want to open my own Bodystreet here in rural Cheshire, where I happen to be sat, given that if COVID's still around for at least a couple of months and possibly 3 or 4, is there any point in me having a conversation with you right now about looking into opening a studio?
Yeah, I think what you've said there, Steve, is a very important point. I think Mr. Johnson came out today and said schools aren't opening till the first week of March now.
Right.
So clearly we will be after that, because his key drive is to get those open. Now, one of the benefits of being the type of business we are is we're not technically a gym.
Right.
We don't operate under a D2 license. When the end of the last lockdown 1.0, I say the last lockdown has been so many.
I've lost count.
Yeah, the first lockdown, the March lockdown, we actually opened in June on the back of all the non-essential retail.
Right.
We got trading standards and we got environmental health to come in and inspect our studios. We had a full risk assessment done, COVID risk assessment done, so that we could open under the banner of non-essential. So we actually got a steal
right.
with regard to getting open. And actually, we as a business saw a 25% growth month on month during that post-lockdown period, which was brilliant. So I think the same thing will happen. I think gyms will open. I think they'll open very similar, as in there'll be no classes.
Yes.
But we're not a class.
No.
The way we operate, it's 1-to-1, 1-to-2. We're not a class. And if you said to me, Mark, look, can I get started today? We'd be looking at best June, possibly July, before you could be open. By the time you take the whole steps of opening, what needs to happen, business plans and everything, all that stuff.
Right.
It's going to be July now. It's a 4 to 6 month program.
Right.
Of getting open, getting trained, getting property, getting funding, etc. So yeah, So is now a good time? Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So in fact, just to dig in on that a little bit more, just talking about the timelines, because again, useful to probably have a handle on what those stages are, because you say there's quite a number of elements you mentioned there. So let's just say I've come to you today and I said, Mark, yeah, I want to open now. What am I going to be doing? What's going to take me till June or July? What's that look like?
Yeah, so I think the first key two things is, number one is finding the right location, and we'll help you with that. We'll help you with identifying what the right property looks like, what the right rents are. We'll help you with landlord negotiations to make sure we get the best deal. And there are some amazing deals. And going back to, is now a good time?
Yeah.
Before COVID, we were negotiating 6 to 9 month rent-free periods. My guess is that most landlords will be looking at that easily, if not beyond that sort of level, depending on the location.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take a genius to walk up and down a high street to see there's a lot of property available. At the moment, there's no rates. I don't know what's going to happen in the budget. in March, but my expectation is if he wants the high street to continue, he's going to do something about rates again for 2021, 22.
Yeah.
So number one is property, and finding the right property and getting the right negotiation and getting all the legals done. And if you found the property today, it's 4 weeks to get the legals done and out the way.
Right.
There's getting the funding, because clearly there's a funding for those people who require funding. And again, we'll walk you through that process. We've got business plan templates. We've got business planning tools. We've got a pitch product, which I'll take you through if appropriate. That's already pre-populated with what our visions are, what our mission is, what our values are, what are we trying to achieve, what's the problem, what's our solution, and it's all prepped, and you just, the potential franchisee just puts all their personal numbers in, and bang, you've got a business plan ready to go. So we're getting the funding, and that's depending on what you're doing in your own personal circumstance. Can be done in concurrent, but you've got to get the property. It's like everything else. It's trying to get all the things together. You've got to get a property to put it in the business plan to be able to then get a reasonable business plan. So that's six, could be a couple of months by the time that's sorted.
Right.
And then you've got, assuming that all ticks the box, then we've got an 8-week rollout program for getting all the fixtures and fittings, the fit outs of 2 to 4 weeks. It's not a big fit out, but it's 2 to 4 weeks of fitting out. Then you've got delivery of furniture. So you can see easily 4 to 6 months is just gone.
Yeah.
And again, through all that process, we handhold, we've done it. And one of the reasons why you buy a franchise is because the bloke before you has done it before you. So we know when to order the card machine. We know when to get the subscription and the accounting part. We know when to get all of the BT stuff and everything else lined up. And that all takes it. And we, again, German by design, we've got spreadsheet after spreadsheet of every single thing that has to be done. You put your opening date in and it cascades down at the side of every single date of what needs to be done and when. And the moment you get slippage on it, it changes your opening date.
Oh, right. Okay. That is ruthlessly efficient, which is what I'm sure we would come to expect from your German.
They're not as efficient as they think they are, but anyway, I'm not going to...
Okay, so yeah, I mean, with the best will in the world, we're talking 3 months and quite likely longer then, really. So if the wind blows in the right direction, etc. So our fastest studio was a guy in Eastcote, and I met him middle of January, and he opened in June. Right.
Because again, even when you get all the ducks in the row, we want 8 weeks of pre-launch and soft launch and hard launch. It's got to go through that process. It's 2 months of activity once the property is ready. Right.
So in fact, yeah, as you say, that puts you squarely into July then, really, doesn't it? Because we're more or less out of January now. So okay, so another thing that comes up quite a lot when I'm talking to people who are considering a Bodystreet franchise, understandably, people will say, well, can I go and have a look at one? And ordinarily, of course, we would say, yes, let's go and have a look at one. Just at the moment, obviously, that's not really an option because clearly with lockdown, we can't go and see them and so on. What I think would be interesting is if people can get a kind of feel for what Bodystreet looks like, and I think you've been doing some recording, have you? For that?
Yeah, we have. We sort of it's a great, this time last year, if people have been saying we're going to sit around our kitchen tables where everybody else is, and we're going to talk about stuff, and then this bloke's going to walk us around a fitness studio. What? Yeah, that's what we can do. So let me just plug this up, and then I'll talk through.
Okay.
A studio. So let me see if I can find it. It should be there. I think I've just lost it. Hang on a second. So I just need to turn that off, start sharing, and I'm hoping. So Steve, because you can see that, can you see that?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the main entrance of a studio. And as I walk you around, I'll sort of talk around and talk about what we've got here. So just going to drop into some stuff. So this here, we talked about safety. So this is a Bodystreet studio zone. It's an ozone machine. So every night, every studio goes through a complete ozone cleanse.
Right.
So, and I don't know if you know about ozone, but it kills everything.
Right.
And the reason we do it at night is because it will kill the trainers if you do it during the day.
Oh, right. Which is not a good thing.
So this is a normal welcome into a studio. Reception trolley as you expect, and that's our sort of nucleus. We have our own software system that manages invoicing, customer records, calendar schedule, emailing clients to remind them, or members to remind them of their sessions. It will drip feed text messages for leads to remind them to come through. So that's on there. And then the other thing that's a highlight is we have our own range of nutrition, both protein powders, but also amino drinks.
Right.
And those are all in here. So this is the main studio workout area. So you can see we have our own workout program, and that's been devised by Bodystreet, and it's designed to target the muscles depending on what the client's wanting to do. So each workout is, so what you tend to find is ladies want to lose waist, so they want to get waist definition, and they want to, in the main, raise buttocks, and they want to reduce thigh size.
Right.
Men tend to want to use develop upper body, arm strength, and possibly and all people want to do core.
Right.
So we've got a number of different movements, a number of different activities. On that board, there's 16. There's variations within there. So we've got nearly 100 different exercises, depending on what it is that the client is trying to do, and the trainers will work through that routine. Each studio has 2 workout machines. And why do we use 2? Because the Germans have tested 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's the most productive, that's the most profitable.
Right.
And there's lots of dynamics that come into it. If you've got 3 people in a studio, one of them doesn't know 2 of them, so they feel ostracized.
Oh, right.
Whereas if there's husband and wife, they sometimes feel ostracized as well, but that's another story. But if it's 2 people who don't know each other, they will connect. So they tend to find people become training buddies. And so that's the system. We have our own music system, Radio Bodystreet. Radio Bodystreet plays music that's #1 licensed to be played in the studio, which is important. It's also delivered at a certain level, as in beats per minute, to mirror our exercise programs. And there's also streamed at a different level if it's just workout timing. We have 2 workstations. These are our suits that clients wear. This is where people, if anybody goes in the call who goes to the gym regularly, they'll most probably go, "What, really?" And let me explain. That suit, when you go to a gym, and this is why it's so efficient. This is why it's only once a week for 20 minutes. When you go to the gym, you do something like a bar curl. That's 1 rep, 2 reps, 3 reps, 4 reps. And each is a rep. Wearing our suit, you do 85 reps in 1 second.
Right.
So in 4 seconds, you do 340 reps. 4 seconds on, 4 seconds off. And that's why it's the same as going to the gym 3 times a week.
Right.
And we see people getting body shape changes in 4 or 5 weeks, coming once a week for 20 minutes. We see people getting rid of lower back pain in 4 to 6 weeks. In fact, it's more efficient in getting rid of lower back pain, than going to the physiotherapist.
Right.
So all our studios have a lounge. This is the lounge area, and it's designed to look this way. So every Bodystreet in the world has a red wall with a white background and has this lounge area. And that's an area where we talk to clients about what they're trying to achieve. We talk to them about their goals, aspirations, set targets, etc. Every studio also has what we call a light wall, and that's been designed to profile behind the clients as they're training, because the second biggest generator of leads is that window.
Right. So that's obviously a corner location, and you're looking to be visible from that. You want, yeah.
And there's two. So one of the things you get, well, I don't really like exercising in the window, and there are people who say that, and so there's some reasons why we exercise in the window. Number one is personal safety.
Right.
There's stuff goes on in a gym that shouldn't go in a gym. You know, right. the PT rooms are out the back, out the way, and I'm sorry, but it just shouldn't happen.
Stuff happens.
You can't happen in our environment. Also, you don't need lockers and all of that other stuff, simply because we're a very visible area. Also, all our staff, they're all employed. So all the team that work, the trainers, are all employed. So they're going to be work there for 8 hours a day.
Right.
I don't want my children working in a box.
No.
Dark for 8 hours a day. So it's very light and very visual. And then the other thing, as I say, is it generates inquiries.
Yeah, but it must be, because it's a relatively unusual concept in the UK. It must be intriguing. I imagine you do get people who just stick their head in the door because they say, "How does this work? Why are these people wearing wetsuits?"
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And again, that's exactly that. Our style and layout is very simple. This is a box that's ready for a client to come in. So we have a thing called a comfort service. So you and I, dressed as we are now, could walk into a Bodystreet and train, because the suits are already there for them. They've been through a whole sterilization process. And we have that in our system. All the jackets that everybody wears goes through a whole sterilization after every workout.
Right.
And that's the comfort service for that's what we call the comfort service. Some people take it, some people don't. Merchandising trolley, as you'd expect, so that features all of the clothing and the products and the items that we sell. And by the way, this is about this unit here is about 800 square feet.
Right. So that's kind of regular retail unit then in most of the UK. Yeah.
So 800. So our studios are sort of 800 to 1,000 square feet. We have, obviously, up and down the area, we have point of sale material, so you can see point of sale. We always have 4 training studios. So the 2 clients that are in training have got their stuff in one, and the 2 clients that are coming in for their next session go into the other 2.
Oh, right. So they overlap, and there's not kind of dead time while they're waiting for a changing room, sort of thing.
Exactly. And then every studio has a shower. Why? Because if we don't have one, people complain, and if we do have one, they don't use them.
Yeah, I was going to say, because do you actually need a shower?
If you've got a propensity to sweat, you will sweat. Look, you're gonna burn 400 to 600 calories in the workout.
Right, in 20 minutes.
Yeah, in 20 minutes. You're going to burn between 1,800 and 2,400 in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Right.
As the muscles recover. So you can see it's and it is, if you've got it, people go, okay, great. You don't need a commercial shower. It's a domestic shower. If 10% of your membership use it, I'll be stunned. Right. But it's one of those things, if you don't have it, they complain. Yes,
I suppose, because when they first join, they don't know quite what to expect, and they just feel there should be one. Yeah.
So you can see that's the sort of a walk around of a studio. And I'm sure if we get some time. Oh, the other thing is they are distant, so over 2 meters apart.
Right. So did you do that anyway? That's not a COVID thing. That was just how you were.
That's how we were. So and again on the hygiene stuff, we've got antiviral sprays for all the suits, antiviral wipes for all the machines. It's just absolutely to the nth degree. It's German standard. It's required. And the other thing, guys, is we've got nice coffee. We use Nespresso. But cool. But if there's any questions, we can obviously pick up on that. But that's a sort of normal layout. What are the prerequisites? The floor has to be a specific floor. We'll tell you where to buy the floor from. We'll tell you the colors. We'll tell you our price. If you can buy it cheaper, God bless you. Tell me where it is, and we'll buy it from them as well. We're not interested in making money out of shop fit. We'll tell you that it's a white wall, so that's very simple. You can paint them yourself if you got that way. We'll tell you the rail color for this. These are all Bodystreet logos. They have to come from us.
It's pretty simple shop fit then, really. It's not, in fact, it's not even as complex as a shop fit. It's
no, depending on the state of the studio when you walk in, you and I, you and I could do most of that. I wouldn't want to fit a shower,
no,
and those little bits and pieces, and I wouldn't want to do the carpentry around the changing rooms. But all the other stuff is white walls.
Good.
Yeah, so it's very simple. So hopefully that gives people a good idea of a walk around.
Yeah, I think that's as good as we can get to having a look around without physically getting in our cars. So and we've helped the environment a bit by not doing that. So that's just for those. I do notice some questions coming in. We are going to make sure we've got time to get to those. So thank you for the questions, and do keep sending, pinging them in, because we'll work through those. I didn't want anybody to think I was ignoring them. Right, so we've looked at the premises. We talked about the size there. I think it's probably a good time to just get into the financials to a degree, because you've obviously got some variables there. You've got the size of the shop, the condition of the shop, what needs doing. If you can kind of just this is going to need to be broad brushstrokes, because I imagine everyone's a bit different, but just to kind of put some figures around it, the sort of costs they might be expecting, and then maybe if we can get towards the get towards the sort of things like time to break even, profitability, and all that stuff, that'll be useful too.
Yeah, absolutely. Initial investment, you're looking at 60,000, and everything in the world is plus VAT. So I'm just talking standard numbers.
Yeah,
everything plus VAT. On top of that, you've got the shop fit.
Right.
And the reason why we say on top of it is because we know the 60 is what we know it is, and so the initial license fee is 19,950. Your equipment package, and that's just about everything that you saw in that studio. So the seating, the tables, the lounge area, the reception trolley, the magazine stand, the workout equipment, the suit, everything, the music system is all in that £40,050. The thing we don't price in there is a computer, because you most probably have got something. So anything that sort of you're likely to have. So back of house. So the office environment. By the time I've quoted you for a fridge, for a fridge for putting stuff in, for a washing machine and a tumble dryer, Currys will have done a deal the following week. So I'm not interested in that side of it. We'll spec what you need. There's a few bits and pieces that you will have, but so we'll give you the list of that. So everything you need will get delivered in about between 8 and 6 weeks of opening.
Right.
So that's on that. The shop fit, we say 20. The one in Barnet, I think, was just under 10.
Right.
The one in Swansea, the one in Bristol was 22, but they put a new window in, a brand new window. The one in Milton Keynes, the one I did, was 48,000. Right. Why was it 48,000? Because I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Right.
So don't do that. But yeah, I still can't believe how much. Anyway, the one in Sutton Coldfield was 16,000. So, and that's everything. So it's doable if you get the right property. And again, with landlords, some landlords will contribute towards it.
I was thinking that just at the moment, there's perhaps a bit more appetite for them to help out and hand it over in a condition that you can more or less walk straight into.
Yeah, because even if it's blank, our latest studio that's opening in London, it was completely blank. The only challenge is that we didn't get to them in time for them to stop them putting the carpet down. So the first thing we had to do was rip a carpet up. But anyway, but all the walls were white, all the toilets were white. It was ready, so it was very little cost to turn that one around. So that's the sort of the talk around the sort of. Does that cover most of what you wanted to cover on?
Yeah, so that's
the setup costs.
Yeah, that's got us sort of set up, and then I suppose what I'm interested to look at there, because obviously there's an investment there. There's going to be a period of time before your trading break even, and then another period of time before you've got back what you invested. So
yeah, I think so. So it really, so there's so many variables. So what we said, so we've got it's about an 8 or 9 page spreadsheet that does setup costs, forecast sales. By the way, all our franchisees set their own pricing.
Right.
So whatever's local price, because if somebody, I don't know, if somebody's here from London, their session price is going to be completely different to say in Coventry, or wherever. So what we do is we model all of that. We put all the costs of the rents, the rates, the staff costs, and everything else. And some people will be very hands-on, will be owner, operator, trainer. Some people will be owner, operator with trainers, and some people are going to be very much hands-off with staff in the studio. So we can model all of that. And once we've got that all modeled, if we're happy with it, we will guarantee that business will break even in 6 months or less.
Right.
And that's a guarantee we put in place. And basically what that means is if you don't achieve operating break even within 6 months or less, you don't pay us any management service fee until you get to break even.
Right.
And it's simple as that. And the only prerequisite we have is you must follow the system.
Right. Yeah. So there's a franchising truism that I must have said a million times over the years, is that in any business, in any franchise business, the most successful franchisees, in my experience, are the ones who most closely follow the system. So it shouldn't be hard. But I've got a question for you on that, though, that with that guarantee, how often have you had to pay that out?
We haven't.
Oh, right. Okay.
And we haven't, because everybody who follows the system breaks even. You know, we opened the first studio, and this is the reason why I did it. We opened the first studio in Milton Keynes. I opened it in the weekend that the schools broke up, when schools had holidays and all that other stuff. You know?
Oh, yeah, in the old days.
So we opened the week that everybody said you shouldn't have opened that week. We opened, and it was lots of reasons. We had slippage with property, and just everything went wrong. So we opened the 7th. We opened the 15th of July, 2016. Within 3.5 months. And this business, nobody'd heard of Bodystreet, nobody'd heard of EMS. 3.5 months, we were operating break even.
Wow.
With overstaffed, because we were training people, more staff, because we were looking at expansion and training what would be head office staff in the future.
Oh, right.
So we knew if you followed the system, and look, you said it, and it beats me. Why would anybody pay somebody £20,000 or 19,950 to buy a system to ignore it?
Yes.
Just madness. Just send me the 20,000 and just ignore the rest of it. You don't do anything else if that's what you want to do. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
And again, I've been around franchising for a little while. And I will challenge anybody who comes along and look at Bodystreet, and at the right time, I will show you the operating system. It's the best system I've ever seen. And that's why I know we can have that guarantee, because if you follow it, it works.
Yeah. So you touched on something there, because obviously you were, in your own case there, you were looking to the future to say, okay, well, we'll train up additional staff. Presumably there's a difference in how franchisees approach this, that some will say, I'm going to be hands-on, I'm going to do everything, I'm going to be doing that. Or others will say, well, I want to staff this. I want people in there who are going to run it for me while I go and maybe I have another business or something like that. How do you approach that? Are there things that kind of challenges to doing it that way, a kind of hands-off owner?
Well, I think, so if we take steps, so who are we looking for? So we're looking for people. I think number one, you have to have an interest in sport. Right. I think it's important, whether it's you want to own a fitness studio because you've got a passion, desire about sport and interest about sport and fitness. I think that's important. You've also inherently got to have a desire to want to help people. And that's not just about our clients, but also the team, the people who are going to work for you. So that, I think, is prerequisite. And I believe, and again, I'm very happy if anybody on the end of this call wants to say, Mark, you're wrong, but I believe there are 3 pillars to every business.
Right.
And pillar number 1 is doing it. Whether it's delivering Bodystreet workouts, whether it's doing the tax returns, whether it's mowing lawns, whether it's putting loft conversions in, whatever the business, there's an operating, you have to be able to do it to a professional level that people will pay you. So that's number 1, is the pillar number, the 3 pillars. Pillar number 1 is the operating. Pillar number 2 is sales and marketing. Can you attract customers? Can you retain those customers? And can you get the customers to get you customers? And pillar number 3 is the sort of business acumen. And that's, do you understand cash flow? Do you understand profit and loss? Do you understand balance sheets? Do you understand all of that mechanics before we even get on to HR law or tax law or all the other stuff that's required of a business? Now, we're looking for people with 2 of those 3 pillars.
Oh, right. Okay.
So you've got somebody who's good at sales and marketing and is good at operating business, and they've never run a fitness studio. Or a combination of. And the reason being is our system will support whatever that one weakness is.
Right.
But if you're only good at one of them, sales and marketing, then I might consider employing you.
Yeah.
Because you employ people that are good at one thing. If you're good at all 3, so if you're on this call now and you've successfully run fitness businesses, you're a successful business person, and you know all about sales and marketing, for goodness sake, don't buy a franchise. Just go do it yourself.
You might as well go and do it, yeah.
Because we're going to fall out because you're going to tell me why I'm doing it wrong. So on your point is, the question I would ask is, who's responsible for the pillars?
Right.
So if you are purely funding it and you're looking for somebody to own or operate, you're going to have 3 pillars. Who's going to do them? And that's the key thing, is finding the right person who's going to drive the business. And I think our biggest mistakes is employing personal trainers in that role. So studio managers who are well-connected personal trainers, younger personal trainers. And I mean in their 20s, early 30s, not one that's sort of at the other end and realizes actually they're not going to be Les Mills or whoever the latest Jack Wicks, what was called. Yeah. Because they don't like the fact that Bodystreet and EMS is the start, is the reason why Bodystreet works.
Right.
They don't like that. So that, I think, the mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 is those franchisees who bought into Bodystreet or any other franchise and then put a 20-something-year-old in there at 15, 18, 20 grand a year and expected them to run a business for them that's got an £80,000 investment. It's not going to work.
No.
You can't be hands off on any business investment. You've got to be something in. I think even McDonald's required to work in their business once a year, but you still have to work there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point, really, because you say somebody as a business owner can't really expect that same level of commitment and drive and motivation from someone they employ at 18,000 a year. I mean, I guess there are probably exceptions if you can find the right person, but your experience probably suggests that they're fairly few and far between, that you can just employ somebody who's going to be a superstar, who's going to do everything for you. We may be looking for a unicorn there.
Well, if they can do all 3 pillars, why do they want an £18,000 a year job?
Yes. Yeah.
But saying that, there's some brilliant people in the fitness. One of the hugely disappointing things about the fitness industry, it's atrociously paid.
Right.
And again, as a business, we have a vision of being the best employers in the fitness industry with the best qualified trainers in the European fitness industry. That's our vision. That's where we're trying to get to, Bodystreet. And we've got a whole recruitment process. Again, going back to what we do, young people who join us, and we'll help you in that process. And part of the opening, we'll help you recruit the right people. We have an apprenticeship program that's supported by YMCA. We're one of the leading providers. So young people can come. Well, not young people. Anybody could be an apprentice, but ordinarily younger people can join Bodystreet. They can get their fitness qualifications. They can get a foundation degree in business management, all paid for through Bodystreet and working for Bodystreet, and all supported by both the government and YMCA. And that's all part and parcel of our development program as we bring people in. It's amazing. But so we've got some amazing people, an amazing support program to help people do that. Yeah.
So there's an interesting point there, really, that obviously you're kind of home growing your own talent there, aren't you, really? It's
and as you grow and sort of multiplication. So 67%, 68% of all franchisees in Germany are multi-studio owners.
Right. Right.
And of them, almost 40% are owning 3 or more.
Right. Right.
And as a consequence, there is a development program. It's one of the things that we found in Germany. I don't know if anybody's got experience of Germany, but in Germany, just about everybody from the age of 18 to 25 goes to almost, it's a bit like the polytechnics used to be when I was a boy, which is you basically went and you did time in industry and time in college.
Oh, yes.
You do that in Germany, whereby you do a degree where you spend a significant amount of time in business and also get the degree. So in Bodystreet, there are fitness and marketing, there's fitness and business, there's fitness and whatever. And those people work in Bodystreet to do that part of their engagement. The beauty about that is it's financially it's a lower cost. So one of the challenges we had was how to make the numbers work in a Bodystreet location here in the UK. And that's why we went and spent all the time we did creating this whole apprenticeship program, because you can get some really good people. And I did an interview the other night. We had 17 people on a call pitching to me to get a job to come and work at Bodystreet. We don't pay apprenticeship wages, but we pay, it's £5 an hour we pay our apprentices, which is not a lot of money, but we're investing significant amounts of money to get them trained.
Yes.
And their career opportunities are magnificent. You know, in Bodystreet in Germany, there are 28 members of staff, the founders, 2 of them, and I think everybody else has come through some sort of development program through the studio and up.
Right.
So yeah, it's an incredible business.
Yeah. So and as you see it, the UK is going to mirror the German model. It's just a few years.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, okay, I'm just going to make sure we've got time for some questions, because I see, thank you for those that are sending them in. We'll make sure we go through those. Just to kind of wrap up where we're getting to, we've talked about the fact that you know, things will be getting better. There is some point in actually starting the process now, even though it may feel early, it actually isn't, because by the time you open. Yeah. But even with that said, I think it's probably realistic to say that it is still likely to be a relatively uncertain time, a bit of a rocky road. Is there anything that you're planning to do to support franchisees, especially new franchisees, if somebody came on board now? Yeah,
absolutely. So I think I haven't got a crystal ball, and nobody's got a crystal ball. So what we've said to the people that are talking to us at the moment is that if you want to come on the journey with us, we're going to get in the boat with you. So what we're saying is that when you start your business, irrespective of when you start it, you won't start paying management service fees until the 1st of July 2022.
Oh, right.
So that's just over a year.
Year and a bit away.
So if you said to me, Mark, I'd love to get this doing, how do I get started today? 6 months from now, July, you get started, you don't pay any management service fee for 12 months. Simple as that. And that can be worth, I don't know, between £9,000 and £15,000, depending on your model, back into your cash flow.
Yeah.
So it's just a sort of way of us helping you get off the ground and get it going.
Yeah.
Well, how can we afford to do that? Is the first thing everybody will say. Well, how can you afford to do that? Because it's
a long term.
All the studies that you'll do, and if you go to the BFA, and if they tell you a franchisor doesn't make any real money out of a franchisee until year 2 and onwards. So we just said, well, fine. We'll just we'll get in the boat with you. We'll row it with you. Don't pay us, and use that money to drive your business, get another member of staff, or whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
We'll put it into that, and that's what we basically decided to do, because look, naturally, people who buy a franchise ordinarily are risk averse, and I get that. And the reason why they buy a franchise is they want somebody to take them on the journey.
Yes,
we've come through this. We've been incredibly blessed in the fact that both with what we've done with our members continuing to pay, the fact we've made the decision not to take management service fee, we've got all our franchisees through this whole thing so far, which has been fabulous.
Yeah.
And we want to do it with the same with the ones coming through the door next. So that's why we decided to do so.
That's in fact, is that public knowledge, that, or is that something you've not yet announced that you're doing that?
We're making it public knowledge to people who want to sit down and talk to us.
Right.
So it's as public as that, but I think how you deliver that is quite difficult. But whereas the conversation here is, look, this is what's on the table, and we can put it in the model. We'll show you how it works. And if we can get you a 12-month rent-free period off your landlord and a 12-month rent-free period off us, life's good, isn't it?
Yeah. But the beauty of that, of course, is that you want to be up and running in July to get the full 12 months of it, don't you? You don't want to be making this decision at Christmas when there's only 6 months of it left. So.
Take your time. Doesn't bother me. Take time.
Okay, well, that's another tick in the yes, it is the right time to do it box, isn't it? Yeah. That's great. Thank you for that. So what I think we'll do now, we've got kind of 10 minutes-ish left. I'm just going to flick through some questions. So we've got a few, starting with Patrick's. So Patrick's asked, to aid the property sector, the Chancellor removed stamp duty. Is there any chatter on some sort of business aid to make starting or continuing a business more attractive from the government?
So, clearly the government is, there's lots of things. So there's startup loans.
Yes.
So that's, and if you don't know about that, that's £25,000 per director, unsecured at 6% over 5 years. And I shot through that very quickly, but anyway, so that's, so there's Mr. and Mrs. Smith want to start Bodystreet. There's £50,000 of the government funding, government guaranteed, over 5-year repayment, which works out at about £950 a month.
Right.
If I remember rightly. So there's that. There's also, as I say, there's the rates removal at the moment. I don't know what's coming. There is talk of further loans with regard to similar to bounce back stroke startup.
Right.
It's rumor, so please don't take it as anything other than it's rumor. And you are recording this, so I've got it down that I said it's rumor. So yeah, the government the Conservative government, irrespective of what you think of them, are about making business work. So I'm not too sure, Patrick, if that covers off what you're looking for. The other things are, if you employ a member of staff who goes on an apprenticeship program, if they're below 24, so below 25, there's a £2,000 cash incentive.
Oh, right.
If they're over 25, so 25 and over, there's £1,500 cash incentive. There's also a Kickstart Program, which is an additional member of staff. So we've taken the attitude, because we've got this acronym that we live under called RICHY, R-I-C-H-Y. Right. And R stands for respect. Right. And that's whether we're respecting the brand and what the brand stands for, respecting what our relationship with our customers, relationship with our staff, etc. So the Kickstart program is designed to give a young person without a job some training.
Right.
So we as a business have said to our franchisees that you are welcome to use Kickstarters, but it cannot be in the position of doing a job that somebody else who should be paid should be doing.
Right, yes.
And we put that, so if you started up your studio and you were a studio owner operator, we'd recommend you have at least one member of staff. So there'd be 2 of you to start with.
Yes.
At that point, you could have a Kickstarter, because you don't necessarily need that 3rd member of staff to start with. Although technically, I would say with the appetite around the apprenticeship program at the moment, not just for the government funding, but also young people make a decision. I'm not going to go to university, get a load of debt. Actually, I can get qualified and get paid.
Yeah.
So actually, you could put 2 people in for £12,000, £14,200 a year, 2 members of staff doing 60 hours a week for you.
Right. Wow.
Of which you get £4,000.
Yeah.
So 2 members of staff are going to cost you £10,000 in year 1.
That's a bit of a deal. So I think something that's useful here, and this is kind of franchising 101 really, is that having somebody who knows all this stuff when you're putting your business plan together, there's a lot of things you can.
Oh, it's huge amounts of incentive. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So next couple of questions are kind of linked actually here. So Patrick's asked, I'm sure there are some scientific studies to support the impressive claims re back pain being solved more quickly than a physio. Yep. And the reps per second, do you have a link to these studies?
I can bore you. Was that Patrick?
He was, yes.
If you suffer from insomnia, Patrick, I have the cure for you. I'll send you whatever you need. If you just drop me Patrick's email address, I'll quite happily send him stuff.
Yeah, I can do that. And actually, I think a kind of a linked question from Patrick saying you
just on that, by the way, the Olympic GB team 2012.
Oh yeah,
use the MS.
Oh right. Oh, okay.
If you want to put Usain Bolt EMS in your YouTube search,
you'll see him using it. Wow. Oh, very good. And so then this is kind of a connected, well, sort of connected question. Patrick's saying you've mentioned 20 minutes per week have great results. Are the clients that use the service two, three, or four times per week? So, is there a benefit in coming more often?
So for the average person, no. And the reason being, physiologically, your body needs between 3 to 4 days to recover from any workout. So if you were going to the gym and I was taking you through a circuit training, I would do legs on a Monday, abs on a Tuesday, back on a Wednesday, arms on a Thursday, and whatever on a Friday.
Yeah.
And I'd cycle it, and that's to give 5 days recovery.
Yes.
If you're doing a whole body workout, you can do it every 5 days. But the average person, and we're all average, and by average, I mean not an athlete.
Right.
The average person is going to see very little difference physiologically between the results coming every 5 days or every 7 days.
Right.
And the beauty of coming every 7 days instead of every 5 days is you are about 22% more profitable as a business because you can have much more people coming through your door paying a standard rate. Because if I was coming 2 or 3 times a week, I wouldn't want to pay $29.99 or $24.99, whatever it is. I'd want a discount. So yeah, it physiologically, I think that's Patrick, but it's a great question. A lot of people ask it, but physiologically, you need 5 days to recover. And by doing that, then you may as well come every 7.
Okay, that's good.
And again, because our client ordinarily is a busy person.
Yes.
They know what they're doing on Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and they just come in every week at Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Yeah. 20 minutes of workout, and off they've gone.
Yeah, I mean that's something we didn't specifically touch on, but your kind of client profile is somebody who's maybe cash rich, but they're certainly time poor.
Yeah, absolutely. Or got more important things. They know they need to get fit and stay fit. They just have more important things in life than spending hours in a gym.
Yeah. So 20 minutes as opposed to 3 sessions of an hour and a half each time or whatever. It's
yeah. And if I said to somebody, look, would you like an extra day in your week?
Yeah.
They'd go, yes, please. Well, if it's 3 hours in the gym, 1 hour session, 3 1-hour sessions, half an hour there, half an hour back.
Yeah.
You've saved 6 hours.
Yeah.
Almost a day back in your life.
Yeah. So, excellent. So a couple of questions that came in from Simon. I think one of these was when we were doing the walk around, because I think I noticed it as well, that the building we were in there had air conditioning. Simon said, I presume quality aircon will be a minimum requirement.
No, we don't want aircon if we can get away with it.
Right.
Yeah, so that happened to have it in there. We don't spec aircon. The reason, Simon, it's very simple. The flipping traders whack it on and make it cold, and it costs a fortune.
Right. Because I suppose people aren't in there that long, aren't they?
It just doesn't need. It just about 20 degrees is perfect. But yeah, so most places I've got aircon, but we don't spec it. And obviously with HEPA 13 filters now required, or HEPA 13, sorry. Filters required. You've got quite a big intensive cost related to so most of the guys who've got AC turn it off.
Right, so you certainly wouldn't bother specing it as a standard. No, that's good. And then another one from Simon to do with standard. I think you've kind of touched on this, but standard business model staffing numbers. How many people do you need to run your studio?
1 member of staff per 60 members.
Right.
Simple as. And startup depends what you're doing, Simon. If you're going to be owner operator, 1 or 2 other people. to work alongside you. And then as you grow, and that's the beauty again of this business. Your fixed costs are fixed. Once you've got your property, once you've got your rent, your rates and everything else, it's all fixed. The only additional cost is each time you need to bring a member of staff in to obviously meet the demand of the new members.
Yeah. But as you say, you'd only be doing that because you've got the members. So it's not an overhead in that sense.
Yeah. Or you're looking to come out to open the second or third studio.
Yeah. Which actually seems like is quite a common route, particularly in Germany.
Yeah.
Simon's other question there, which I must admit, I hadn't seen that term for a while, SEIS, which is the Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme. Is it applicable? I wasn't even sure if that was still running, actually, but maybe
I didn't think it was still running. And I think with the sort of investment levels we're talking about.
Yeah, I think, Simon, we need to come back to you on that one, because the truthful answer is we don't know, but we would assume perhaps not for the moment.
Yeah.
And then final one for Patrick. How many members have you found are typical once you're well, in fact, I know this is going to be a tricky one to answer, but how many members are typical once you're fully up and running? I guess that's going to depend a little bit on how long you're operating.
Yeah, so basic operating break-even membership-wise, anything between 45 and 65 members, depending how it's structured. It depends on what your cost bases are, how much you're charging, and all those other things. Yeah. In Germany, it's 163 as our average members.
Right.
Quite interesting. And again, this is one of the sort of, so if you go to Germany, and this constant, again, I'm paid to say this, so you can go and check it out yourself. I think we're with Bodystreet, where if you and I were 15, 20 years ago talking about opening coffee shops,
yes,
you'd be like, coffee shops in England, really?
Yeah,
they're everywhere. They're everywhere in Europe. They're going to come here eventually. And you go,
yeah.
And in fact, most streets, if they haven't got 2 coffee shops on them, there's obviously something wrong with this.
Yeah.
So in Munich, Munich's about the size of Birmingham.
Right.
There's 46 Bodystreets.
Wow.
There's 70 other EMS operators.
Right.
So there's about 1 for every 20,000 people. The average membership in an EMS studio, an Electro Muscle Stimulation studio, is about 84.
Right.
In Bodystreet, it's over 160.
Wow.
And the simple reason, Bodystreet have got a system.
Yeah.
If you want 50 to 80 members, don't buy a system. Just go and buy a machine and give it a go yourself. You don't need a system. You don't need an operating system. The reason why Bodystreet works is because the operating system. So, I think it was Patrick's question.
It was, yes. Yeah.
So Patrick, I think great question. So 140 to 180 members is the sort of number that we think is a real sweet spot. Certainly we achieved that in Milton Keynes in under 2 years.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing, because it's not a colossal number. I mean, we're talking right at the top of this about the conventional gym model, which probably as a minimum wants 1,000 members and probably wants a lot more than that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's completely the opposite. So it's pray they don't come. Cool.
Excellent. Well, we're kind of out of time, but I do hope that's been helpful. I think it's kind of given a great insight. I love the walk around video. I think that really helped. So what I would say, anybody who wants to sort of dig in a little bit more, I mean, you will probably by default have had emails from me, if not from Mark as well, but I will do a quick round robin to everybody tomorrow who was on the call today, just to invite you to connect again, and we can have a one-to-one chat, because I know we've been quite harsh with you and not let you ask your questions on your microphones today, but we can always have a more detailed chat and get into the specifics.
Yeah, I think, see, just in closing, I think it's important to understand that within franchising, the only point that you are committed is when you sign a franchise agreement.
Right.
There's an entire courtship process before we get to the aisle.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is help people make intelligent decisions.
Yes.
So that's about, there's nothing wrong with saying, right, let's put a business plan together and see what it looks like. Let's put a funding application in and see if I can get the funding.
Yeah.
Before you commit to anything.
Yes.
But I think people need to understand this, and please, just because you've got nothing to do at the weekend, don't engage with that process. You know, be interested in finding out the facts to make an intelligent decision, but clearly understand that it's a process of understanding.
Yes.
And gaining information to make an intelligent decision, both on your part and on our part. You know, we want to understand how you're going to cover the 3 pillars.
Yeah, I think that's a great point as well, actually, because but this is a two-way street if you're fun. And what needs to happen is if somebody isn't a good fit, you're not going to want to take them on, and they shouldn't join. So it's a process of getting to know each other, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I want you to go into year 2, because that's when I start making my royal management service.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, it's not about the joining; it's about the year 2 and beyond. Really, so. And I think I'd also underline that point to say, don't be frightened of making contact with myself or Mark, and we'll give you the facilities to do that. And just having a more detailed chat about it. It's not a 5-minute decision. It's something you need to consider. We all need to make sure it's a good fit, and if it is, we'll be happy to take it further.
Brilliant. Good. Thank you for organising tonight, Steve. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we've been informative for everybody, and thank you the guys who've come along for showing interest, and hopefully we've done 1 or 2 things. We've got your appetite whet, or we put you off completely.
One or the other, but I suspect the former, not the latter. That's
good. And thank you again. All right, appreciate it.